Welcome everyone to the very first lesson of Carbraniac X's tutorials and all that jazz. Anyway, first off, we're dealing with chemistry here, so we need to start with the very basics and go off what chemistry is all about, the study of. Basically, chemistry is the study of matter. How matter changes, how it interacts with things, and all that good stuff. But what makes up matter? Atoms. I'm sure you all knew that. Anyway, the structure of an atom has a nucleus, which is made up of protons and neutrons, and electron shells. This is a hydrogen atom, not a molecule, atom. Helium. Now that's the first two elements that makes up the full outer shell for the first period. But that isn't how every full shell looks. There's a rule called the Octet Rule, and it makes sense because it dictates that the outermost shell must have 8 electrons, i.e. octet, and this here is neon. It's got 2 and 8, it's 10, it's atomic number 10. So yeah, basically the Octet Rule dictates that the outermost shell has 8. There are the transition metals which can have 10, but they're an exception to the rule. So basically, we'll start again with the structure more closely. We're going to take carbon for this because carbon is my favorite element. And let's start with that. Okay, so the nucleus. Carbon 6. It will have 6 protons. And because we're going to be dealing with, let's say, carbon 12 for now, I'll touch on carbon 13 and 14 in a minute. It's going to have 6 neutrons. 6 and 6 is 12. 2 and then 4 on its outermost. There we go. Carbon 12. It has 4 on its outermost because it's in group number 4. Like hydrogen has 1 because it's in group 1. Oxygen has 6 because it's in group 6, and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is carbon 12. There's also carbon 13 and carbon 14. Carbon 14 is what you use to carbon date. Basically, change the number of neutrons. Let's say carbon 13 is this. See, the electrons never change. It's only the neutrons. Unless you get up to the radioactive elements. Some of them give off electrons. Most of them is just neutrons. Carbon 14, got 8 neutrons. As time passes, it's going to kick off X amount of neutrons, degrading to carbon 13 and 12. And you can tell the age of an object depending on how much carbon 14 is left. It's on a carbon 14. These square brackets mean concentration of 14. I'll be reminding you of this later on. Versus time. It's sort of like a linear thing like that. You can tell how far along something, how old something is, depending on how much carbon 14 is left. But don't worry about that. That will be touched on again later on when I talk about radioactivity, because it is a radioactive decay, kicks off neutrons, which is alpha radiation, I believe. I'll correct myself in that video if I am wrong. So yeah, I will admit if I'm wrong as soon as possible, of course, as every good educator would do. So that would be the end of the first video. Well, technically second, but first lesson. What is an atom? There you go. Oh, it's not the end of the first lesson actually, because I forgot to mention charges. Electrons, which are donated as this when you're doing equations with them, have a -1 charge. Protons which are just hydrogen positive atoms, because hydrogen atoms have one proton, one electron. Let's just say here, this is hydrogen, uses its electron, minus one electron. Therefore, its charge goes from 0 minus its electron goes to +1. So a proton has a +1 charge. There you go. Another little bit of information. See, is there anything else I need to cover? I've covered protons and their charge, electrons and their charge, neutrons, which have given the name neutron, neutral, they don't have a charge, and basics of isotopes, i.e. your carbon-12, carbon-13, and carbon-14. There's many isotopes of so many different things, like hydrogen, hydrogen-1, deuterium, hydrogen-2, tritium, hydrogen-3, which is also another radioactive thing. Yeah, that is the basics of what an atom is and isotopes. I hope this helped and cleared up some confusion on what an atom is. I'll be covering bonding and the periodic table in the next couple of videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope you pass your exams.